So if you've been grinding hard in the First Descendant to unlock Hailey, or if you stopped grinding because of how hard it was to grind for Hailey, you're in for some good news. The devs just dropped a patch that buffs Hailey's drop rates outside of the invaded dungeons. That's right, they've listened to the community and now it should be a whole lot easier to get your hands on her. But is she now the easiest character to unlock? We're diving into how this patch changes the grind for Hailey, what you need to know about her drop rates and whether this buff is a game changer for unlocking her. And maybe this paves the way for how we're gonna unlock Descendants in the future. If you've been frustrated with the grind, stick around because things just got a lot more interesting. Let's get into it.
Makes it exciting!
The hotfix is 1.10b, so this is an extension of the Season 1 patch. This happened on Friday at 2200, and it hits all of the platforms. They've increased Hailey's research material, so the Enhanced Cells DNA Stabilizer Catalyst and Data Chip, drop rate in infiltration operations. So that's your standard missions. So that's a quick patch. Before we jump into all of the details here, let's just make sure people aren't confused, because I've been seeing some confused comments talking about the invadeds and how they didn't change anything. And to clarify, it's yet. They haven't changed anything yet, and that's as planned. So let me show you where they say that. Okay, so this is the dev note they published. This is the day after Season 1 was released. Here, they talk about the hot fixes, and so the one that we just got implemented was Hailey's equipment material drop rate will be increased in this week's 1.10b hotfix. So that's the one that just hit. They also summarize up here at the top that the improvements for invasion dungeons and the inversion reinforcement. So that's the system that buffs your characters. So the reducing the difficulty of puzzle mechanics, increase the number of spawn monsters, buff inversion reinforcement, and delete penalty. All these contents will be updated in next week's 1.11 update. And they get more specific about that down here, that's anticipated on this coming Thursday, just to make sure our expectations are where they need to be. They say, keyword here, after that, we are planning to add matchmaking systems so users can play the invasion dungeon as multiplayer mode. So basically, all these fixes are coming what seems to be in 3 phases or 3 hot fixes. So we just received 1 of 3, the second one on Thursday, and then the third one, we don't know yet exactly when that one's gonna hit. A matchmaking system in there might take some time, I don't know. Okay, let's put the notes away and get into the juicy stuff that I know you're here for. Hailey's drop rates have dramatically increased. So Hailey's got 4 major components, and you have to farm these in order to research that, along with some common materials. This is what's been a struggle to get. So you can get these in 2 ways. One is from the invaded missions, which are marked with this symbol. The other ones are just from regular missions that are marked with this symbol. So the invadeds was performance based, and you could only do each invaded twice per day. You can get up to 3 per run if you had a peak performance during your run. So the problem is, if you really wanted Hailey and you wanted her now, you couldn't farm the invadeds because there's a time gate on it. There's a limit to how many times you can play this per day. Only twice, and there's 2, so a total of 4 runs at a max of 12 components. Outside of that, you could farm that same component by doing these missions, and you would only get 1. RNG was extremely painful. I myself tried. It took me 8 runs to get 1 component. And as you can see, that's 1 of 36 times 4. That's 144 components. Let's assume that half of those components I get from invadeds. That means the other 72 I'm gonna get from missions. It took me 40 minutes to get 1 component. That's 48 hours of playing in order to unlock the other 72. That's crazy. RNG was just not happening on those, and the community felt that impact. So the devs immediately responded and came out with this patch, and we tested this during a live stream along with several others. And I gotta say, it's really good. On the surface, it felt like a 50% drop rate. I was getting Hailey pieces back to back to back. So in the end, my estimation is it's somewhere between 30 and 50%, probably closer to 30%. And I did go through and test each one of the components to see if there was a difference in RNG, and they're all basically the same. You would think the Hailey data chip would be the hardest, and it wasn't. Does this make Hailey the easiest character to unlock?
Let's do this!
There's a couple of things that have to be considered in order to answer that question. For one, they improved the matchmaking system in these infiltration operations. Now you can push up your multipliers to 250% and still matchmake with the public, which is awesome. And matchmaking is independent of whatever material patterns that you select. Two is they decreased the amount of mechanics that were slowing you down in missions. So Magister's Lab can now be completed in about 2.5 minutes. That is very fast. Just in my stream last night, one of the community members unlocked one of Hailey's components entirely in a single session, basically in a couple hours. And for my estimates, an average grinder can achieve unlocking Hailey in a weekend, maybe 2 long sessions. And when you do your invaded, you have a 100% chance of getting those components, but you got 144 components that you have to grind out, some of which are gonna come at you at 100% chance, some of you are which are gonna come at you at about 30% chance. But the interesting thing is, after that, there's no RNG related. Once you collect all of your components, you go to craft in Albion. Well, how is that different from other Descendants? With other Descendants, you have 2 layers of RNG, where Hailey, you only have 1. So using this Ajax component as an example, I can farm it from this old mystery mission. So let's take a quick look. So here is the pattern that I need. It's number 116. As long as I get this score, I have a 100% chance of getting it. And then there's a chance to get 2 of those. Where it really gets painful is when I go to shape that pattern to try to get the component I'm looking for. By beating Frostwalker, I only have a 6% chance of getting that, which is not good and can lead to a lot of frustration. And similar to Hailey, there are only a few ways to get this component. So I can fight Hagios, Sterile Land, or go into Old Mystery. But the difference is each of these are 2 steps, where Hailey is just 1 step. For example, this is a Void Fusion Reactor, but with this one, it's worse because I would have had to go to an outpost to farm the pattern at maybe a 25% chance of getting it, where the mission would give me a 100% chance, but it does take longer. So most of you know this grind, it's really painful. And with Hailey, there's just more visible progress towards your end goal, which in my opinion lends to a less frustrating experience. With Hailey, although RNG is still involved, it comes down to just effort, good old sweat equity here. 30% drop rate in this game is actually pretty darn good. And so if you do the time, you can feel confident that you're gonna get Hailey. An important detail when it comes to looter shooters is respecting players' time, and the reward system and the satisfaction level plays a major role on whether the player feels like their time is being respected. They need to feel like the time they're investing in the game is being rewarded, is paying back. The juice is worth the squeeze. So what do you guys think? Now that the devs adjusted this, should something like this be the way we unlock our future Descendants? Let's hear your comments below. Thank you for hanging out with me. My name is Tuxedo Bandido. That's Tito Bandido.
One and only.
And this was another episode of The First Descendant. If you found this video helpful, subscribe, like, and turn on notifications to ensure you don't miss out on the fantastic experiences waiting for you in The First Descendant. And if you like videos like this, check out the one I have recommended for you right here. If you have anything you want to see covered, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And thank you to all the channel members and donors who make everything possible. Tux Nation wouldn't be without you.
When you buy or download anything for The First Descendant, be sure to use Tux's creator code to support the channel. Easy peasy.
Follow me.